The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone having a great weekend out there. Happy Monday to all PTL family. So glad you could join us. Great lineup of guests that we have throughout the week. And, we're going to get right into it, of course. Destiny's going to be joining us tomorrow. And we have to talk about this bat-you-know-what crazy press conference that Donald Trump had in the Oval Office today. There's a lot to get to, certainly a lot to go over. YouTube Super Chat. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. Of course, the FMAM dial KSHP, my YouTube page at YouTube page. I can't talk today, at PTL Radio Show. And we appreciate everybody being here. What better time to kick off a Monday, as we normally always do, with the editor-in-chief of Midas Touch. It's always a pleasure having him. Ron Filipkowski joining us on the show. Ron, I hope you had a great weekend. You doing?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Got to see a little play here and support the local art scene.
Were you sitting there? Did you see Beetlejuice with Lauren Boebert, or I would assume you didn't?
I actually saw Pinocchio.
Oh, nice. So Donald Trump is in plays now. I didn't even know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had fun. Ron, thanks so much for joining us as always. I appreciate it. I want to start off with you with this off the rails crazy Donald Trump press conference. I mean, he said a lot of crazy stuff, but let's start with Iran. He's saying that, their proposal is unacceptable, right? Yet he's been saying every day for months now that they're begging for a deal. He's saying they're dishonorable, where it was just a few weeks ago he said the new regime were smarter and they were less radical, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Donald Trump or Republicans in Congress or members of administration, or for that matter, a lot of American media, Iran's been on the verge of surrendering for 2 months now. We're going on 10 weeks now of this war where, what Trump said at the time was this was going to be like Venezuela. It was going to be in and out, boom, 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 do some bombing, decapitate the regime. People are going to rise up, take over Iran. Everybody's going to live happily ever after. And, here we are 10 weeks in, and it's about where many of us predicted. So, no surprise that Iran feels like they have the upper hand here. They feel like they can outlast Trump, and they've rejected his latest offer. And the problem for him is he's got the China summit coming up in a couple of days, and he can't really do anything right now to shift the focus away from that summit, other than to do what he talked about today, which is waiving the federal gas tax and, driving up the national debt even higher than he already has, in addition to him asking for, billions of dollars and more defense spending to replenish our missile stockpiles.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you about repealing the federal gas tax. I'm glad you brought that up as well. Can you believe, even by Donald Trump standards, that he said today he believes Republicans are going to walk away with the midterms? Is there any reasonable Republican out there that actually believes that?
I mean, I think they believe it more in the last few days than they believed it in the last few months. And of course, he's always says that, they're always winning, they're always, his polls have never been higher, according to him, blah, blah, blah. But, the reason for the Republican confidence is the Virginia Supreme Court, overturning the redistricting there, along with the Supreme Court decision last week, wiping out basically majority minority districts in the United States. So you have all over the country, you have especially in the South, you have these Republican states that are busy redrawing maps, Florida, South Carolina. They're trying in Georgia, but Kemp won't do it. So multiple states, Mississippi also. So the issue is, what Republicans believe now is if they can creatively redraw all these maps, that they could lose as much as 3% nationally in the popular vote overall in the midterms, and still not lose the House, which would really, I think, cause a lot of problems in this country if something like that happened. But
Yeah.
I think the margin is going to be substantially bigger than that. I think that a lot of these redistricting efforts could really backfire on Republicans because they're weakening a lot of strong districts.
Right.
They're also going to take a lot of the black particular areas of the South, like just take South Carolina. Southwest South Carolina is Jim Clyburn's district, which is 47% black. They're going to break that up into pieces. They're going to do that in Mississippi. They're going to do that in Tennessee. And so what that's going to do is essentially wipe out black representation in the South. By the way, you're not going to have a single black Republican in the House next year because there isn't one currently leading in the polls. So there's only a handful running. So you're going to have really next year not a single black Republican, and they concede that. They already admit that. There's not going to be a single black Republican in the House of Representatives next year. And Republicans are in the process, white Republicans are in the process right now over the country of trying to wipe out all the black Republicans in the South who are representing black
Ron,
areas. So
12 to 13%, somewhere around of America is African American. You used to be a Republican. That's insane.
Yeah, really, like almost the only black representation that they're going to have in Congress is going to most likely is going to be, the West Coast and the Northeast, and that's probably largely it with a handful of exceptions. So
yeah,
there's a story out today in Politico that Jonathan Martin wrote, who is talking about how that could really backfire. That one of the reasons why Trump did so well in 2024, one big reason was he got 24% of the black male vote, which is unprecedented for a Republican. He did very well, and that could very well be completely wiped out with this move.
Good point.
And wiped out for decades.
Agree. You talk about kitchen table issues, and I think that's one of the main reasons why I think it's going to be a bloodbath and Republicans are going to suffer in the midterms. Let's talk a little bit about today. He's talking to Katie Britt, who's standing right behind him, and he thanks her for bringing down prices. That's weird because I don't know what prices he's talking about. It's not inflation or most products in the grocery store. It's certainly not gas. And then Dr. Oz, also standing behind him today, thanks the president for saving Medicaid. And Ron, last I remember, in the big and beautiful bill, 20 million Americans have lost their medical coverage. What is Dr. Oz and Katie Britt? What are they talking about?
The bizarre thing about the event today was it was the theme that what the event was about fertility. Was about the fact that, according to them, we have this huge crisis in this country that we're not having enough babies and we need to have more kids or else we're going to suffer substantial population decline like China and Japan have done, and that this is a problem. And so the purpose of the press conference, what you say, lowering prices, what she's talking about is prices for in vitro fertilization, because they chalk that up as that's the issue for women and for men. What RFK Jr. talked about today was sperm count is too low in American men. They aren't producing enough sperm. And so what they're saying is those are the two main issues that is causing our baby drought. When really the reality is that it's neither of those things. It's not really medical issues. It's the issue is the current generation, the millennials, the Gen Zers have no interest in having kids. They at a young age, they're different than my generation and the baby boomer generation. I mean, it's called the baby boomer generation for a reason. And the World War II generation, which had a lot of babies. The last two particular generations, they just aren't. I have 5 adult children and no grandchildren. Their age is 22 to 32. And, you talk to them and they're just very blasé about having kids. So a lot of it is financial. A lot of them feel like that in that generation, they can't afford to have kids. Healthcare is so expensive, all of that. But also it's just a cultural thing. Hopefully in my case, they're just delaying having kids for later in life and they're not having them as early as we did, which I think is probably the case. But that's really was the subject matter of the whole press conference. But as usual, it went off the rails in a bunch of different directions.
Completely.
Like Trump stuff always does.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Donald Trump's health, and you alluded to this today, which you're right. It seemed like for multiple times in this press conference, he was spacing out, his eyes were closing. We saw that weird rash on his neck a few days ago. His hands look like completely discolored. The White House has said it's because he's shaking too many hands. We talk about his ankles. It looks like he's wearing like 8 layers of socks on his ankles. We've seen him dragging his feet. I mean, we can go on and on and on. What is going on with his health, and why are they keeping it so quiet? I mean, I'm not a doctor. I understand you're not a doctor, but this is some strange stuff. What is going on?
Well, and he continues to fall asleep more and more often. He fell asleep multiple times in this meeting. Every sort of meeting it now has a familiar pattern, which is when other people are talking, Trump dozes off. He can't stay awake when other people are talking unless they're talking about him.
Right.
So that's one thing I think that a lot of the cabinet officials have figured out is the best way to keep Trump awake while they're talking in these events and cabinet meetings is to talk about him. So, a lot of people notice that they praise him constantly about how great he is. Because when they stop doing that and they start talking about, let's say, IVF or sperm count or something like that, Trump starts dozing off, and he dozed off multiple times in this meeting. And, it was funny to watch all the Trump social media accounts, the rapid response people and all that. They went crazy as we were all posting stuff online about showing him falling asleep. They were going crazy saying, he was just blinking. He was just thinking. He was just looking down. This is the same crew of people. I know all of them. This is the same crew of guys. I'll say guys because they're all men who, spent the last 4 years doing this to Biden. And Biden didn't fall asleep nearly as much as Trump. So, it's funny. They can dish it out plenty, but they're very sensitive about when you do it back to their guy.
Absolutely. The hypocrisy insane. If you're just joining us, Ron Filipkowski, of course, editor-in-chief of Midas Touch. Let's talk a little bit about Mother's Day in pure Donald Trump fashion. And you noted this on your social media platforms. Nothing about Mother's Day from Donald Trump yesterday, still spreading QAnon conspiracy theories and tweeting out crazy stuff as he does on a daily basis. Not one tweet about his mom, not one tweet about Mother's Day in general. But this is typical for Trump, isn't it?
It's almost like he goes out of his way to antagonize people and to piss people off and to be a jerk. It's I guess it's part of his brand. Why he does it, I have no idea. I mean, because it doesn't gain him any new fans or new followers by doing it. It only loses him people around the margins. And it doesn't alienate that much his hardcore cultists because they've been putting up with this for a decade. But yeah, I knew he wasn't going to do a Mother's Day post. I kind of had it pegged that he wasn't going to do it. I mean, it's the easiest thing to do. He has a staffer, Natalie Harp, that he has 2 people that help him run his social media, Harp and Scavino, and they both have his password. And you can tell the ones that she posts, like all the endorsement stuff, like Natalie posts that stuff. Scavino posts a lot of the video clips, all the crazy QAnon memes and stuff that stuff comes from Trump, and all the rambling stuff with the all caps and the misspellings. That's when you know it's Trump. So, but I mean, it could be so easy for him just to have Natalie Harp or Scavino tweet out some nice standard Mother's Day thing, but that's not what he's all about. So I got up this morning and I checked, maybe he posted something late last night, about Mother's Day, because I checked before I went to bed and he hadn't. But no, he was up all night posting all these memes about, Donald Trump is the greatest. Donald Trump is the best president ever. All these QAnon style memes from his fans. So he was up till 1 o'clock in the morning posting those. And then this morning he couldn't stay awake in his cabinet meeting.
Yeah. And then we wonder why. Just insane. I want to read one of your tweets out, and I want you to expand on this because I found it really interesting. You said, Ron, when senior administration officials continue to lie to you every single day, week after week, so they can use your media platform to launder lies and manipulate people, how long do you keep doing it because they are scoops that get lots of clicks? I feel like that's the entire MAGA right and all the grifters on X and social media, and you just summed it up in basically in one sentence. Maybe you could expand on that, because I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Well, really, I mean, I'm more talking about mainstream media in that post,
Right.
which is,
Yeah.
you have these people, these dozen or 2 dozen reporters that all have Trump's cell phone number. And that's his big thing now, is
Right.
texting with them and talking to them on the phone. So he'll do like a dozen, 15 of these interviews every single day where he puts out all this bullshit. And they dutifully report all this stuff. And a lot of it is just lies. It's lies about Iran. We got a peace deal that's going to happen any day. And they'll put that out, Jonathan Karl or Barack Ravid or whoever, all these reporters who have his number, they'll put out Trump's comments, and it gets reactions in the oil markets and the stock market. And, it's just been a steady stream of lies. So my post is really directed at those reporters,
Sure.
most of whom follow me,
Mhm.
is just saying, how do you just reconcile this as an objective reporter, that what he's feeding you is not true, and you continue to report this stuff as breaking news with the sirens and everything else going off, and that it's not true. And at some point, don't you feel like you have a responsibility, when he's just manipulating people and manipulating the markets, that you might have like the opposite viewpoint, or I spoke with a Democrat who said that this is not true, or I spoke with Iran's foreign minister who says this is not true. They don't do that. They just put it out like just to their audiences, ABC, CBS, CNN, as, hey, this is what Trump just told me. So Trump has this ability all throughout the day, and he didn't do this in his first term. All throughout the day, he has this ability to manipulate the news cycle by feeding these reporters garbage. But, they have the choice. They know it's not true, but they also know they're going to get a bunch of clicks because, hey, I just spoke to Trump. And it also shows like, hey, I got clout. I got Trump's phone number. I'm a big star. So it was just sort of like to try and shame them and get them to think a little bit about not doing that.
I want to ask you about this, Ron, and I'll throw Bill Maher into this, because I've been criticizing him a lot lately. I feel like he's turned into one of those people where he's become friends to some people on, like Ron. He has Fetterman on, and Fetterman, right? He said, you and I both know Fetterman has zero credibility at this point.
Fetterman's terrible. I was just telling the guys at Midas today, I was like, I could probably name you right now like a dozen Republican senators who I would take over Fetterman, who I think are actually like, I can handle them better than Fetterman these days.
But Ron, I was talking to a friend of mine, Andrew, the other day about this, and he has the Lauren Boeberts on his show, Kid Rock. It's almost like the old Bill Maher would push back, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like with these MAGA, I'm just going to call them, a lot of them, not all of them, but some of these people, MAGA idiots. He doesn't push back with them at all. These are election deniers and just not very intelligent people, like the Lauren Boeberts of the world. And he invites them on his show. He never used to do this until fairly recently. No pushback at all. You've got Fetterman, who seems to be pro-Iran war. Even the crazy MAGAs, a lot of them aren't pro-Iran war. And there's little to no pushback. And I'm saying to myself, what happened to Bill Maher other than what you're saying? It's about clicks, and he wants to stay relevant, and it's about ratings. And he's like, remember when he normalized the dinner he had with Donald Trump? And it's like, who cares, Ron? So Donald Trump was nice to you for 2 hours. Who cares? That doesn't mean that's the real Donald Trump. I'm so disappointed in people like Bill Maher, and
they have no self-respect, because Trump continues to trash Bill Maher all the time.
Right.
Every time you bring up Bill Maher's name to Trump, Trump will tell you that he's a shithead, he's garbage, he's a liar, he's useless. All he does is clout chase. So, I mean, you would think that these guys would have a little bit of self-respect and stop brown nosing him. But yeah, I think like in his case, he's trying to veer off into branching out, trying to build his audience, get more people. Megyn Kelly sort of did this too, where she was struggling with her podcast for a little while because she was somewhat anti-Trump and she would criticize Trump. And then she decided that, she wasn't getting as many followers and as many subscribers as she wanted. So she decided to go all in on MAGA and embrace Trump again, blah, blah, blah. And only recently, because of her disagreements with the Iran war, has she departed a little bit from Trump again, like she used to, but now she's already built up this huge audience. So I think that that's what Maher is probably doing. He's searching around to try and stay relevant when increasingly people on the left have completely tuned him out. And it's the same thing with Fetterman. What's Fetterman going to do? He's done. He's toast in the Democratic Party. His bridges are burned. Like, he can never get elected again. He could never win a Democratic primary again.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem for him is he can't win a Republican primary either.
Right.
Because I can rattle off 50 things that he has said and voted for and done that would destroy him in a Republican Party. I mean, John Fetterman is pro-abortion with no restrictions at all.
Right.
No restrictions whatsoever. And so that is a strong, progressive Democratic position.
Good point.
I mean, there's no way he could get elected in a Republican primary with that. I think what the Republicans are trying to do is sucker him into switching parties now so they get his vote because they're worried how the midterms are shaking out. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to run someone against him and take him out.
And by the way, Ron,
any halfway decent Republican would defeat him in a Republican primary.
Agree. And these are the same people, some of whom called him a vegetable after he had a stroke. And then there were people like you and me, rightfully so, and others that were defending him. And he completely turned his back.
Yeah, I worked so hard to get him elected. I mean,
I know you did.
His big, most viral thing that he had that he milked for like 3 months was that crudité video of Oz going in and buying crudité for
I remember
Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that was my video. I mean, Fetterman followed me at the time. So did Giselle. They both have since unfollowed me. But they used to follow me and repost my stuff all the time that I did on Oz back then. And they reposted me multiple times. But the crudité thing was he spent months on that.
Yep.
And that came directly from me. So, I mean, I can remember the debate, man. I had to jump. His debate performance was the worst debate performance ever. It was worse than Biden's. He couldn't even speak, get a single sentence. And we all rallied around him and defended him and said, this is a short-term thing. He's going to get better. Don Jr. was the one who came out and called him a vegetable.
Yep.
But now, they're his friends now, he thinks. And I don't know if this is, there's two theories. One theory is he was always a shithead and he just pretended to be a progressive to get through the primary. And the other theory, was the stroke damaged his brain. And that's why he's gone MAGA, which I kind of tend to subscribe to a little bit of both.
I think it is. I tend to agree with you. I think it is a little bit of both. A couple more minutes here with you, Ron. I wanted to ask you about this. So Kamala Harris was in town last week and I went to one of her events. I've never said anything personally negative about her. I think she's a nice lady. She's very educated, nice family woman, great resume. And of course, we both supported her, right? I put out a video like the other day and I said, look, if this is the Democrats' answer in 2028, I think we're in trouble, right? I said something to that level. I think she needs to step aside. And I didn't mean step aside like just private life and don't be out in public. That's fine. But she hasn't said whether she's running for president or not. And she's not running for governor of California. And I said, there are better candidates out there. Some of them happen to be black. I'm a big fan of Wes Moore, right? And then I'm being called a racist. I didn't say anything negatively about her person. I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I think this is a big problem within the Democrat Party. Whereas if you say something about Kamala respectfully, I don't think you should run again. That paints you out to be this bad person or this racist, when really all I want is the best candidate possible to defeat a MAGA Republican. And I just don't think Kamala is in that group. That's really what I was trying to convey. And now we learn that none of her big donors are supporting her right now. There was a big story that came out the other day about that. But yet, Brian, you're being a racist. You're a turncoat. No, I'm not. I just want the best candidate. And I don't think she is one of those people.
This is a massive problem in the Democratic Party, and it's like people feel like they can't speak honestly. They can't give an honest opinion. I mean, it is definitely a problem. But I think that the only thing you can do is just like block it out. That's what I try to, turn off the noise, and you can't like not give your opinion. It's like if somebody wants to call me a racist because I thought personally, when she was asked about the Iran situation the other day, I thought her answer was absolutely terrible.
You mean
And
when she swore and then
it was gobbledygook. It was a word salad.
Agree.
And it's like, my comment at the time was, look, I could spend 30 seconds. I could write down 5 talking points on Iran and give them to her to say. Yeah. And it's a mystery to me, knowing that you're going to get asked about Iran at a forum, how she couldn't have a clearer, more coherent answer on Iran.
Yep.
And yet the answer that she gave, which I thought was not a non-substantive word salad, she got a huge applause because
stupid because she swore.
She used like the word bullshit or something. I forget.
Right.
She cursed, so everybody went wild. And it's like, there might be a certain part of the population that really digs that kind of stuff, but it's not a majority. And
no,
that's
it's not
the problem.
Good. And one other point, Ron, I want to make is that she said, she was asked, why are you doing this? And she's like, I'm going around the country because I'm listening. Well, guess what? The event I went to, not only did she not take any questions from the media, she didn't even take any questions from the crowd. What do you mean you're listening? You're not even, these are your fans here. You're not answering any questions. And then you have a moderator that's like the worst. I'm sorry, the moderator she wasn't very good. Kamala, you're a fighter. No, why don't you ask her about mistakes Democrats have made that they've learned from, and how do you guys win in 2028? Well, why don't you ask real questions?
Look at the last 2 years. The last 17 months when we've been battling this Trump administration, and you have had people like Newsom and others, J.B. Pritzker, Bashir. We could go around, Wes Moore. We've had Democrats around the country that have stood up and taken on Trump over the last 17 months, and she's been nowhere to be found. And I understand, her wanting to take a little break, but she wrote her book and did her book tour. But like you said, she doesn't go into non-safe spaces. She interviews with friendly interviewers who are going to give her softball questions. She doesn't really mix it up. She's not really good improvisationally. I think she has a lot of problems as a candidate. And look, last time she ran on her own, not as VP, she got 1% of the vote and was the first person to drop out of the race. And then she had the California governorship right there for the taking. I thought the roadmap for her political career was right there in front of her.
Absolutely.
She did the VP. She then becomes governor of California. She performs well in an executive role in the 3rd, 4th largest economy in the world. And then she's set up beautifully to run in 2032 or whatever. She's only 57, 58 years old. She's got a lot of time in front of her. And yet she chose not to run, which left basically the California Democratic Party in chaos with no clear person to step up and run as a front-running qualified person. She left the California Democratic Party and her home state kind of high and dry there, and with no clear pathway of what she plans to do next. So, and I'll add too that the Democratic Party has never really been that enthusiastic about renominating somebody who won, who lost. The last time that the Democratic Party renominated a nominee who lost the presidential election was 1956. So Democrats typically don't go back to the well when their candidate loses. They don't give them a second shot. So I know she's doing well in some of the early polls right now, which are utterly meaningless because nobody else has even really gotten out there and campaigned or spent any money. But I'm still would be surprised if she runs. And honestly, I probably would be somewhat disappointed if she was the nominee. Because the other problem is she has the Biden administration record weighing her down, whether it's on immigration or inflation or gas prices. Now, I'm not saying that all of that was the fault of the Biden administration or her fault. I'm not saying that at all. But in the minds of a lot of the American public, she is responsible for a lot of that stuff. And that's going to continue to be held against her. She could have wiped that slate clean by becoming governor of California and building her own record as a governor. But she chose not to do that. So the only thing we have to judge her on is her time as vice president. And that's what she's going to be judged on, and I think unfavorably by a lot of voters.
Speaking the facts, Ron, but some, not the majority of Democrats, because I know there are millions of African Americans that are Democrats that do not want Kamala to run again, but a small percentage of them would call people like us racist for just presenting facts of why we don't think she should run again.
Find something I said that is racist, then by all means attack me.
Yep.
But that's a problem with the party, is like,
yep, agree.
You're a white male. You're not supporting a woman of color. Therefore, you're racist. And it's something that the Democratic Party has got to get over.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I didn't expect that when I put out a very respectful video and praising her and saying, nice lady, smart. I just don't think she should run. Here's why. I laid out my case, maybe not as eloquently as you did, but I certainly gave some of those reasons. And there's, again, the best thing to do is block it out, Ron. Sometimes I'm not good at that. Look, you're better at that time.
I wanted Joe Biden to drop out of the race, and I then wanted Kamala to be the nominee, and I posted that on social media and set it up. So I mean, how I was the one who didn't want the white guy to run and wanted her to take his place.
Correct. Me too.
So because I don't want her to to be the nominee again,
right? It
suddenly makes me racist. No, I just reject that, and I'm not afraid to say it. But I don't specifically take sides, and I definitely haven't made up my mind who I'm going to vote for, because it's way too early.
Yeah,
and I'm willing to listen to what she has to say, but in the few her book tour, I was not impressed by a lot of her interviews, and I wasn't impressed with her answer on Iran the other day, which I thought was very important, because it was really the first time she was asked about it in a major event, and her answer was nonsensical to me.
Ron, that's why I put out the video I put out. It's because I went to that event, and just like you, I was unimpressed. That was the word that I would use. And it made me think, she's not the greatest candidate. We both still voted for her. We both still supported her, just like you. I wanted Joe Biden to step down sooner to give her more time to campaign. I still talk about that. But listen.
And I don't blame her at all for the loss. I don't.
I
blame Joe Biden much more than her.
We are on the same page. He ruined his legacy. Joe Biden, a nice man. I have a lot of respect for him. He ruined his legacy by not stepping down sooner. I think most reasonable people would agree with us on that, Ron. I could not agree with you more. All right, one funny question, Ron, before I talk to you about your Substack, and then I know we got to let you go. I've had you on a little longer. I apologize for that. But I got to talk about Ben Stiller for a moment. We're in the middle of the NBA playoffs. Ben Stiller is a huge Knicks fan, as you know. So he puts out these tweets, and he put out a tweet yesterday talking about the Twin Towers, obviously not talking about the actual Twin Towers. He's talking about two NBA players that are centers and a power forward on the Knicks for why they've had so much success in destroying the Philadelphia 76ers. And yet you have MAGA now thinking that he was talking about 9/11. That's crazy.
I think at this point he's doing it on purpose, a little bit. Maybe. I mean, he follows me on social media. He's followed me for a while.
Yeah.
So I did post about him today, about last night I did, because like he did it last week. He posted just something very, I forget what it was, but he made some kind of post where he was celebrating, but it was very vague, and a lot of people didn't know what he was talking about. And I think it happened right after the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting thing.
Right. We killed it. I think
like
we killed it. Or
we killed it tonight or something. And it was like 2 days after that. Everybody on the right went nuts that like they thought he was talking about Trump when, he never mentioned Trump. But that's the real Trump derangement syndrome, is their snowflakiness about their hero.
Yeah.
So he got like all this heat, and he did the smart thing. He just ignored it, which is what I would do. He didn't respond to any of it. He didn't delete it. He just said, he just ignored it and let people like me ridicule MAGA, saying he was talking about the Knicks. So he did it last night. He put out Twin Towers with a fist in the air, and I'm like, I knew immediately like MAGA was going to think that he was celebrating 9/11. And, I looked under the replies, and it was like a who's who of the MAGA intelligentsia. It was just one reply after another from them. You're talking about the Twin Towers, you're celebrating terrorism, you're on the side of Iran. You know, it was just
insane.
It was just unbelievable. But, you know, I think at this point he's kind of having fun with it.
You should keep doing it because I think it's hilarious and it shows you how stupid some of these people are. So I think you should definitely keep doing it, and you should keep tweeting about it because it's hilarious. Thanks for staying a little longer than usual, Ron, today. I really appreciate it.
Right.
Can you just real quickly, can you just tell people, promote your Substack for today and what people should expect?
So writing about some of the stuff that we just talked about, writing about the lawsuit that was filed this morning to try and halt the painting of the reflecting pool. There was a big lawsuit that was filed today by a bunch of ex-DOJ lawyers who sort of have formed this rapid response legal team now in DC to start challenging some of this stuff Trump's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they filed a lawsuit to stop that, which I read the lawsuit was actually really well done, really well laid out, as far as like that Trump, what he's doing is completely illegal, that this is on the national landmark of historic places. Therefore, nobody, even a president, can go in and start making major changes to it. Also talked about the reason why it had a gray slate bottom and not blue like a swimming pool. You know, Trump is painting it like a swimming pool. He brought this contractor in who's a swimming pool guy from Oklahoma to paint it. I mean, it's just the whole thing is a fiasco. No bid contract, and it costs like $7 million. By the way, Fetterman is out there defending it again.
Of course he is. Yeah, of course he is.
The painting of there's nothing Trump can do now that Fetterman will criticize. So, you know, a lot of stuff about that, more stuff about Iran, and everything else that we've talked about. The fertility sperm count press conference today.
That was
Trump
awful.
falling asleep is also in there. So.
Yeah, and you lay it out better than anybody. Ron, thanks for staying a little later than usual, man. I really appreciate it. We'll let you get back at it, my friend, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Ron.
All right, you got it. See you.
There you go. See you, Ron. Ron Filipkowski, everybody, editor-in-chief Midas Touch, one of my favorites. I always say that. He is my favorite Substack read. So if you haven't had the opportunity, please sign up for a Substack. It's incredible. And it actually helps me with my show prep. So he really is one of the best in the business. So we appreciate Ron for coming on. Hey, I hope everyone had a great weekend out there, by the way. Geez, I get right into it with Ron, and it's such a great interview. And I always love talking to Ron every week, and we're so lucky to have him. You know, we had Adam Mockler on the show last week. That interview went viral because he was talking about Geraldo Rivera and so many other things. It's so funny because this weekend, I don't get to talk about my personal life too much lately because we're always usually confined to time. But so Saturday was my spa day, right? And I do a little bit of work on Saturday, but mostly Saturday is, you know, time to relax. So I said, you know what? We're going to make this a spa day. So I did a couple tweets and I did a couple videos. And one of the videos that I put out on Saturday was about Bill Maher because I had watched his show on Friday and I was talking with my friend and we were criticizing Bill Maher. And he's like, you know, you should do a video about Bill Maher. I'm like, okay. So I just take my camera and I do a video on TikTok, right? And what I didn't know is I put in some weird rap song in there by accident so I'm talking, you know, like that. And as I'm talking about Bill Maher, there's a rap song that's playing. And Mockler sends me a text message because he follows me. And he goes, hey, Brian, I think you have some audio issues with your video. I posted this video on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, and it was like a rap song and me talking. So it was kind of funny. But I appreciate Adam was one of the first people to let me know. And I had to delete it and put it back up. Mockler's the best, man. He's got my back. So I certainly appreciate him for that. Yeah, you know, it was a good weekend to kind of refresh, recharge the batteries, so to speak. I'm moving up in the world. I'm moving into a bigger place. And so I'm moving this week. And on top of all that, we're still doing this show. And I have a very fun, big announcement to make on the air right now. You guys are going to like this. So you guys have all seen the show Jubilee. I would imagine you guys have all seen that show, right? You have one person sitting in the middle and you have a bunch of Republicans surrounding you. Well, it's going to be that kind of event in Las Vegas on Friday. We already have some huge MAGA supporters and some names that you might know, by the way. It's all going to be taking place this Friday. We already have a bunch of Republicans that have signed up for this. It's just going to be me in the middle. The prompt is basically going to be why I think Donald Trump is bad for America, why I think he's morally bankrupt. If you know somebody, or if you're listening right now, we only have a few spots left. We are going to be taping it live, and it's going to be spread all over social media platforms everywhere in a professional studio. If you or somebody you know wants to be debating me in a Jubilee-like debate, it's going to be in Las Vegas this Friday. You have to be available in the afternoon. It's going to be a short time after my show. I'm still doing my show on Friday. Email me at brianshapiro@kshp.com. And again, that email, Numchuck always does a good job. He's going to put it up for us. Brian Shapiro, thanks, Numchuck. brianshapiro@kshp.com. If you or somebody you know, we only have a few more spots left, you shoot us an email. That's the show email, brianshapiro@kshp.com. And then the organizers of the event will give you more information. I'm also going to do my best to try to broadcast it live on my platforms as well. So this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be Jubilee style. It's going to be really cool. And I'm looking forward to it. And no, this is not just college kids. Some of you might think that there's going to be some people my age and older that are going to be there as well. One of the attendees is the guy that was accused of an assassination attempt on Trump, and he's actually a MAGA Republican. Do you remember when I interviewed Vem Miller? He's kind of a conspiracy theorist, and he was involved in that whole scandal. He's going to be one of the MAGA Republicans that's going to be debating me. So no, it's not just college kids. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'm not Ben Shapiro. I'm not just some guy who just wants to debate a bunch of 18-year-olds. There will be a few younger Republicans there as well, but there's going to be people my age and maybe even older that are going to be there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's going to be Friday. So email me. You have to be a Trump supporter, though. We don't want Democrats. It's just going to be me in the middle. So I'm going to be debating Trumpers. So you have to be a Trump supporter. You can't just be a Republican, because we're going to be debating Donald Trump. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll give you more information on when I'm going to be going live, but it's going to be sometime in the afternoon. The organizers are setting, it might be 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, but it'll be around that time frame. So I just wanted to update everybody on that as well. So we have a lot more to get to here before we get to the phone calls, okay? So I want to play you a little bit of Mr. Hassett, who was lying and continues to lie to the American people about the economy and what's going on. So he's saying that all the job creation that happened under Biden was because of employed illegal aliens. Now, obviously he's lying, but I want to play this clip for you firsthand before we give you commentary on it. So watch this.
Right to work. And we did an analysis when we first got into the White House that showed that almost all of the job creation that happened under President Biden was the employment of illegal aliens. And so by securing the border, by reinforcing immigration law, there were some that said that we wouldn't have enough workers to grow the economy. You can remember that. But in fact, what has happened is great high-paying jobs have been going to American citizens, which is really what the intent of President Trump's policy was.
So isn't that interesting? As far as the unemployment numbers go with Donald Trump and the job creation under Joe Biden coming out of a pandemic, it was all because of illegals. Well, first of all, let me just explain something to all of you. I think most of my listeners are smart enough to certainly understand this. You see, a lot of these undocumented immigrants aren't paying taxes. If you're not paying taxes and you're getting paid under the table, that doesn't show up in the employment numbers, you idiot. The hell is he talking about? Most people that are undocumented, the people that you might see outside of a Home Depot, you think those are on the books? You stupid moron. No, it's not. And then he tries to give out job numbers and border security and throws out these alleged great numbers, even though the economy is headed in the wrong direction. Watch this.
But the jobs numbers right now have been blockbuster, more than double expectation. And the break-even job number is a lot lower than it used to be because we've tightened the border. And so 120, 130 this year is sort of like 2 or 3 years ago, a 200 number because of we don't have this massive inflow of immigrants that are working. And so these are really great job numbers. There's no sign in the data that AI is costing anybody a job right now, but we are studying the future of AI and what it means for the workforce. So we've got a big task force on that.
Is there anybody out there right now that would categorize job growth right now under the Trump administration as quote unquote great? Is there anybody, any logical, reasonable person, Republican or Democrat, that would say Trump is doing a great job with employment creation and private sector job growth? Of course not. But it continues with this imbecile, because he was asked about gas prices that are somewhere around $4.50 a gallon. I paid like $5.40 the other day. And here's Hassett doing his best as the Trump Mushroom Gobbler Award PTL of the day goes to this imbecile, now downplaying all these spiking fuel costs that are not just, ruining people's lives, but, Spirit Airlines is a perfect example of these large businesses that are going in the toilet. But here's Hassett downplaying it.
Hey, Kevin, we spoke with Mohammed El-Arian earlier this morning. Hi. His analysis is that if this lasts another 6 weeks or so, and by this I mean the strait being closed, that it could push the globe into a recession. Obviously, we're a little more insulated in the United States with what we've been dealing with on energy prices and beyond. But he said that there's a real issue when you start getting around the world, and that 6 weeks is about it. So Iran might be in a difficult position. How do you see the rest of the globe's position?
Well, for the short run, there are, for example, Asian economies that are harmed severely by the high prices. And one of the things that you're seeing is that the price of jet fuel, for example, is really, really high. And there's a whole bunch of commerce in Asia that depends on flying around. And as the refineries turn the knobs up so that they have more jet fuel in response to the high prices and more diesel in response to the high prices, then that reduces the supply of gasoline. It could make those prices go higher. That's a very disruptive thing in Asia. But in the U.S., it's very unlikely to cause a recession because we're such a strong energy producer. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not focusing on everything we can do to reduce the price of gasoline at the pumps within the U.S., but I think Mohammed is looking to what's happening in Asia and perhaps to Europe as well, and thinking, geez, how long can this last? I think that there are a lot more private reserves than people give us credit for, and so I think that the burn rate is a lot slower than what Mohammed says. But for sure, there is a risk that if this thing goes on for a really extended period of time, that the Asian economies will be the first sign of severe distress.
Again, downplaying, things are going to get better. When we approach 2 years in the Trump administration, are they still going to continue to blame Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg? When we're 3 years into the administration, is it still going to be Joe Biden's fault? These people are so pathetic, and it continues with these Trump mushroom gobblers because Brennan, is talking to Chris Wright. But Chris Wright doesn't really have much of an answer, does he, when asked about when these gas prices are going to go down? Watch this interaction.
We're going to end the nuclear program.
But gas prices have not peaked at this point.
I don't know the future of gas prices.
Well, they climbed over the past week. We're also hearing from the airline lobby, ticket prices aren't going to go down in the summer or the fall. Saudi Aramco's CEO said reopening routes is not the same as normalizing a market deprived of 1 billion barrels of oil. None of these problems are going to end quickly.
Ending the Iran nuclear program is a tough challenge, as you're rightfully pointing out. Is there short-term dislocation from that? Absolutely. But we need to make that trade-off, or we have a long-term threat to peace in the region, long-term threat to energy supplies, long-term threat to Americans.
So he doesn't know the future of gas prices. Nobody seems to know, but when gas was $3.50 a gallon, all they did was talk about it and blame Joe Biden. By the way, I remind all of you, wasn't Joe Biden's choice to take over during a global pandemic, the mess that Donald Trump left him. It wasn't Joe Biden's choice when Vladimir Putin decided to invade Ukraine, but all of a sudden everything's okay, even though this was 100% Donald Trump's choice to get us into this war. But according to Sebastian Gorka, who, by the way, in my personal opinion, is one of the most repulsive people in Donald Trump's administration, both inside and out, Sebastian Gorka is saying that the administration not only has been effective, but they've been way too effective. They're doing everything right, according to this imbecile, Sebastian Gorka. Watch this.
But we did hear a much shorter time frame at the beginning of this, right? Was this an optimistic take, or how do we reconcile the original timeline with what we're dealing with now?
Well, look, there is the ancient aphorism, every plan lasts until first contact with the enemy. But there is a very simple answer to your question. We've just been too effective, along with our colleagues in Jerusalem that have effected numerous persona strikes. We have absolutely destroyed the leadership, the traditional leadership. Take this one metric, Chris. Where is this vaunted new Ayatollah? Where is Mojtaba? Oh, really? Is he in charge? How come we haven't seen hide nor hair of him? Not one still photograph, let alone a video statement. This is a regime in ultimate collapse at the top. As a result, it makes communicating and getting that final deal, that acquiescence, that surrender, a little bit more complicated. But rest assured, it is coming imminently.
All right, Sebastian Gorka, we thank you very much.
Yeah, they've just been way too effective. Hello, I'm Sebastian Gorka, and I am the honorary Donald Trump mushroom gobbler 365 days a year. Oh, this guy, one of the worst. I mean, I put him in the same category as like a Mark Levin and a Byron Donalds and some of these idiots like Jesse Waters and these media figures. I mean, they are incapable of criticizing Donald Trump for anything. And then we get to Donald Trump. Once again, over the weekend, Donald Trump is bragging about ending 8 wars. He has a habit constantly of fabricating his entire business career, and now he just repeats the lies over and over and over again in this interview. Watch this.
I ended 8 wars.
Every single time, though, he gets called upon, it seems like he always attacks the person that's questioning him. Do we remember last week when he called a female? We remember when we called a female reporter, an African-American female reporter, the B word. Every single time he's questioned on something serious and he has to attest to it or take responsibility, he doesn't, and he usually attacks the journalist. This is the point in this interview that is just absolutely insane, because if you remember, Donald Trump was obsessed with Fort Knox, and this is Donald Trump, the president of the United States, in real time, that is accusing the U.S. Army of stealing gold from Fort Knox. I'm not making this up. Watch this. Complete idiot. Casually accusing the U.S. Army of stealing gold at Fort Knox. You imbecile. Well, you're the same person that stole $175 billion in revenue from the American people with your stupid tariffs. Well, you're the same idiot that has made billions of dollars and enriched you and your family with this crypto scheme. Well, you're the same moron that receives $400 million jets from terrorists and a $5.5 billion resort built in terrorist-led nations. And you want to accuse our brave men and women in uniform? You're the same person who dodged the military 5 times with your fake bone spurs while he was playing golf over the weekend and went to that terrorist golf tournament, the Live Golf Tour, which is going to be folding, by the way, very, very soon. What a joke. And coming out of Donald Trump's mouth, I want you to listen to this, because here's Donald Trump talking about beautiful little babies. I almost feel like this is the same language he used to use back in the day when he was hanging out with his best friend pal, Jeffrey Epstein. But this is really strange. Watch this. This is the same clown who talked about injecting yourself with disinfectant, who used COVID press conferences and turned them into campaign rallies. And now he's trying to give us information on vaccines, and quoting and taking the advice of a man who pulls over to the side of the road and does his own social experiments, I guess, and medical experiments, cutting off the genitals of raccoons. Just absolutely insane, the times that we are living in today. And you know, when you always hear these MAGA mushroom gobblers, Trump isn't accepting his salary. You know, he's doing this for America. He wants to make America great again. He's losing money. Yeah, well, he was asked about this, about where his money is going from his salary. This is interesting. Watch this.
Do you still donate?
White House preservation. Putting gold plates on frames, making it look like some hole-in-the-wall pawn shop, which is what he's turned the White House into. And notice how he says, oh, we're using our own money. Really? Then why are you asking for $1 billion in taxpayer funds to build your stupid ballroom, you lying orange orangutan buffoon? Now, I don't know if you guys watch the NFL. I do enjoy watching football, college and NFL. Here's another absurd claim. Donald Trump is claiming that for every game that people watch, it costs them $1,000. I don't know really where he's getting this from, but that's what he said. Watch this. I'm a football fan. I have no idea what you're talking about. We're paying $1,000 a game. The hell is he talking about? This bumbling fool. Remember when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee and Donald Trump said, you're not going to have the sport anymore? That was the year where they had the highest ratings in the history of the National Football League. It's like everything he says, the opposite happens, right? Everything. I'm going to lower prices on day one. Prices went up on day one. I'm going to end the war in 24 hours in Ukraine. Ukraine is, by the way, kicking the ass of Russia right now. I'm so proud of that country. It's like everything happens that's the opposite of what Donald Trump claims is going to happen. He's saying that we're not going to have a sport anymore, and you're spending $1,000 to watch an NFL football game. Again, I have no idea what he's talking about. Can't you get like the whole package for like $300 or $400 and you could like watch all the games all year long? That's every game. Break it down. Do the math. What's that? Like $5 a game? Like, what is he talking about? It's insane. As we go to the YouTube super chat, I love my MAGA mushroom gobblers. I really do. Intel is wild. Said, God bless Donald J. Trump, King Trump. Well, no, thank you, sir. But, instead of making a very generous donation, how about you call into this show and tell us all why we should say God bless to Donald Trump? Because you see, I choose to say God bless for nice people. I choose to say God bless for people that I think we should be praying for, decent human beings, good, decent Americans, not orange orangutans who wake up in the morning with 8 layers of orange makeup, who lie to the American people every day, who have cheated on every single woman he's ever been with, who are named over 30,000 times in the Epstein files, and who dodged the military. I choose not to put my blessing on really awful people. You want to try to debate me and argue me on that? Let's go. I'm ready. But I want to open up the phone lines to all of you. And of course, we're in the YouTube super chat as well. With a minimum of a $5 donation, your questions and comments will be read live on the air. And the number to call if you want to call in, guess what? That's free. 702-221-7283. To any of those MAGA mushroom gobblers out there that are keyboard warriors that would like to challenge me and ask me or claim that we should be blessing Donald Trump, I disagree. I disagree. When I heard Rush Limbaugh had cancer, I wasn't praying for him. No, thanks. I choose to bless decent human beings. Even if you didn't like Jimmy Carter as a president, don't think he was a great president. He was a good man. John McCain, I didn't always agree with him on policy. He's a good man. I choose to take my time to care about decent human beings. I'm not going to give any blessings to Donald Trump because I think he's an awful, horrific human being. He's a liable sexual abuser. He's a lifelong cheater and a swindler. No, thank you. No, thanks. I'll pass on that one. Thank you for the donation. Number to call again if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the show. And again, that number again, I'll give it out one more time. 702-221-SAVE if you would like to be a part of the conversation. All right. With that being said, let the games begin, ladies and gentlemen. Let the games begin. Let's talk to John. John is first up, and he's calling out of New York. What's up, John? Hi, John. Are you there? Did we lose?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, a couple things, but first, please take down that Sabres poster. I mean, I don't think Buffalo really wants anything to do with you.
Well, I'll tell you this. Unfortunately, several years back, we lost a friend of this radio station. His name is Brian Blessing. He grew up a huge Buffalo Sabres fan, and in his honor, I think it's very appropriate to keep that up. I grew up a Hartford Whalers season ticket holder, so I remember back in the days, if you remember Dominic Hasek, very famous goaltender for the Sabres back in the day. But just to give you a little bit of history, that's why we have that poster up. It's in memory of Brian Blessing. So.
Well, I think I might be cursing them right now. So if you take that down, that'd be great.
All right. Well, that's another subject for another day, but you might be right on that. I don't know. But what's on your mind today, my friend?
Yeah. All right. So a couple things. Number one, and I'm actually going to quote you on your abysmal performance against Rachel Wilson. But the word would be...
Are we on topic? And by the way, thank you for your watching it, because you're helping me make money, and I really don't care what your opinions are in the debate. Just FYI, I'm just letting you know. So thank you for your opinion. I really don't value it very much. But if you'd like to talk about something that's on topic, I'm happy to do that with you.
Well, you told me to call in on a YouTube comment, so I'm just following your
Which
instructions
comment?
here.
So you were the person who made the comment.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is a debate that I was in 2 weeks ago have anything to do with Donald Trump?
I mean, you tie everything to Trump, so...
Okay, well, you
like,
made
I'm sure
a
can find a
comment.
way.
Okay, let's see if we could follow along here, my friend. Okay, I'm glad you called in. When you put up a comment that said, God bless Donald Trump, I expect you to call in and talk about Donald Trump, not some debate I was in a few weeks ago. So I'm asking you to remain on topic. So
No, that's not the comment that I made. The comment, and I've been asking for like days, and you won't answer. But
so you want to talk
again,
about? So you want to talk about something from several days ago? Is that on topic? I thought you said you were on topic.
Well, I mean, I could get to it if you'd stop interrupting me like you always do. But...
I'm waiting.
Yeah. So why do you keep using homophobic language, and then you complain about people?
What homophobic language have I said today on the show that would lead you to believe that I'm doing so?
Mushroom gobblers, Brian?
Yeah, okay,
what are you
so I'll answer
that,
sir. So I'll answer that. So this might be hard for a MAGA supporter like yourself to understand. So I'll speak very slowly.
When did I say I was MAGA?
Sir, you asked a question. The way this radio show works is you ask a question, then you shut up and you let me answer it. If you're not going to abide by my rules, then have a nice day. MAGA mushroom gobblers both apply to women and men. So it goes against your theory completely that somehow it's a homophobic slur, which it's not, by the way. What that means, sir, is whether you're a woman or a man, when I call you a MAGA mushroom gobbler, it means you're performing verbal fellatio on Donald Trump 24/7. I've called women MAGA mushroom gobblers. I've called men MAGA mushroom gobblers. So, sir, is that hard to follow, or does that make sense to you? What part of that do you not understand?
So when you're aiming it towards a man, though, that would be a homophobic statement because you're implying that it's a bad thing.
Okay, let me repeat myself once again, because I try to be consistent, even with people like you that obviously are not very into. Shut up and I'll answer it. Don't interrupt me again or the conversation's over. I am answering your question, okay? When I call somebody a Trump mushroom gobbler, I don't care whether they're gay or straight. That is not the whole reason why I use that term. I'll repeat it once again for my very slow friend here on the phone, who seems to be very offended when I use the term MAGA mushroom gobbler. Sir, I'll be very helpful to you. John, I think your name is John. I think you're a MAGA mushroom gobbler, so we're going to call you the MAGA mushroom caller of the day. And let me be very clear. That has nothing to... I'm not done yet. That has nothing to do with your sexuality. Zero. It has everything to do with the fact that you sound like you probably defend Donald Trump. So I'll explain it again. And if you don't answer it, if you don't understand it for the third time, then I can't help you out, sir. Okay? I can't help you out. When I call somebody a MAGA mushroom gobbler, man or woman, it applies the exact same way. It means you kiss the ass of Donald Trump. You're on your knees defending Donald Trump 24/7. That has nothing to do with one's sexuality. Now, let's see if you have any brain cells and you have an IQ over 20. Does that make any sense to John, who's calling in today? I know that gets you very upset, you MAGA snowflake, when I call you a MAGA mushroom gobbler. John, that has not... Mr. Tucker Carlson laugh over here. So, John, John, would you like to just accept the role today and embrace the fact that you're the MAGA Mushroom Gobbler Award on PTL of the day, and that has nothing to do with your sexuality and everything to do with the fact that you support a 34-count felon liable sexual abuser? John, would you like to accept that award today?
I think it's funny that you have no idea what my politics even are.
No, I think I do. Who did you vote for?
If
all right, John.
Conservative used any language like that, you'd be calling them homophobic.
All right, so John, what's your political affiliation? Who'd you vote for?
It's irrelevant to the topic.
No,
I'm just wondering why you keep using homophobic language.
John, the audience would like to know what's your political.
Brian.
John, no, don't Brian me.
James
You're
John.
making the case that you don't know what my political affiliation is. Okay, you're right. I don't. I'm making an assumption. You got me. So, John, please tell our listeners, what is your political affiliation? Now, I know what the answer is, but what is your political affiliation and who did you vote for? Go ahead, John. Be honest. Don't lie.
All right, so
Don't lie.
You're a hypocrite. Next question. Why did you say you're against women's suffrage?
Nope. John, I asked you a question. You answer, and then I answer your question. I'm only going to ask it one more time. You got offended because Brian doesn't know what my political affiliation is. You're making an assumption.
Oh, no.
You're not,
I'm
pot him
just
down
calling
again.
out.
Pot him down again. I'll let you know when to bring him back up. Hold on one second, Numbchuck. So, John, you struggle to follow direction, okay? You were very upset that I call people Trump mushroom gobblers. By the way, you come from the party that thinks gay marriage is a sin. I'm sure you're one of those buffoons. So, John, I'm asking you now for a fourth time, and if you don't answer the question, the conversation is over. You MAGA mushroom gobbling coward. Tell me what your political tell me what your political affiliation is and who did you vote for? Otherwise, the conversation is over because it's my show and not yours. So tell me, answer the damn question.
Sure, I'm a constitutional conservative.
Oh, what
so
a shocker. You mean you're not a liberal? Oh my God, I'm shocked. You sounded like such a lefty, John, you dummy. Okay, so we found out that you're a conservative. I don't care whether you call yourself a constitutional conservative. You're a conservative. You're a Republican, dummy. So now, dummy, tell me who you voted for in 2024. Answer the question.
Well, obviously, I wasn't going to vote for communism.
So you voted for Trump. What a shocker, dumbbell. Get the hell off my show. You just exposed yourself. Not the way Lauren Boebert's ex-husband exposed herself. You dumbbell. Oh, Brian, you're making an assumption about me, but, you know, I am a Republican and I am voted for Donald Trump, you stupid Trump mushroom gobbler. I hope you get deported to Gaza, you dumbbell. Brian, I'm so upset. Why are you putting me in the same category? Why are you calling people Trump mushroom gobblers? You don't know what my political affiliation is, but I'm a constitutional conservative and I voted for Donald Trump, you dumbbell. God, it's so easy to destroy and wreck these frickin' turds. What a turd you are, John. What a turd. What a snowflake. Don't call people Trump mushroom gobblers, John. Every single time you call into the show, I'm going to refer to you as the official Trump mushroom gobbler of the Pushing the Limits radio show. What do you think about that, you coward? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Who are we going to next year? Let's go to Jerry. He's calling out of Virginia. What's up, Jerry?
Man, what's up, Brian? Besides getting attacked by a goose, I got in there attacked by a goose like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago before I called, but everything's peachy.
Can you, okay, John, sir, I'm sorry. Before we get to, you know, what the topic which you want to talk about, which I'm happy to, what would you make about a guy who calls into this show? He's upset that I use the term Trump mushroom gobbler because he thinks it's homophobic, which it's not, by the way. It applies to women and men. It applies to Lauren Boebert just as much as it would apply to John Fetterman. I don't know. And then he gets angry because I categorize him as a Trump mushroom gobbler. And it turns out he's a conservative who voted for Donald Trump. You can't make this up. It's so insane.
Yeah, well, you just need to grow a pair. You are what you are. So, I mean, speaking, you telling your truth. I don't know why you upset. I mean, you are what you are. If you're a Trump mushroom gobbler, you're a Trump mushroom gobbler because you could at least be objective if you're a conservative, or Republican, or a Democrat. And I'm none of those. I'm just a black man in VA.
Understood.
A 41-year-old black man.
I respect
that. I don't rep no party.
I appreciate that. All right. So you wanted to talk about Kamala Harris, which is interesting, and I want to give you the opportunity to do so. So go ahead, sir.
So, all right, for starters, do I think she should have ran for governor? No, because, I mean, it's 2026 now. If you're going to run for governor and then you got the presidency right then and there, it looks good on your resume. But at the end of the day, people are still going to have questions for whether she was the governor or the governor trying to run for the presidency.
Gotcha.
One, they're going to want to know where all that money went to. $2 billion and nothing. Like, that was a waste of time. You just gave money to Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B. I just don't see it. And then the last thing, like your guy was telling you on The View when she said she wouldn't change anything Joe Biden said, that was just
bad
that
answer.
Was just it.
Listen, I so agree with you. And again, I was having a conversation with someone last week about this. you can't answer a question that way. It's got to be, well, you know what? I want to further this objective. I want to further that objective. I want to lower taxes more. There's so many different ways. She just, that hurt her. Okay. It wasn't, I don't blame her for why she lost, but you agree with me, right? I just think there are a lot better candidates out there, and that's got nothing to do with the color of her skin. I mean,
it's still early at the end of the day, so we'll wait and see. But at the same time, Brian, hold on. But at the same time, you don't have to validate yourself, because I'm being objective, and I'm a black man.
Right.
I mean, you've been supporting us. You've been on Roland Martin. You've done this and that. So I'm not trying to kiss your butt.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you don't owe nobody nothing. I mean, you say
I appreciate
everything.
that.
You say yes. So you don't owe anything. And I want to just get to Trump. And I get to Trump real quick, and then I'm going to hang up.
No. Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
I'll let you get to Trump. But I just want to say I appreciate you saying that. As you know, and yeah, Roland's a friend of mine. I think I'm doing his show again on Wednesday. But if Michelle Obama, I would be the biggest supporter of Michelle Obama. I think she's great. If Wes Moore was the guy, I wish he was, I would be running to the polls to vote for Wes Moore. The problem we have in this country is there is a small percentage of people, you're not in this group, but there are a group of people within the Democrat Party that think that if somebody doesn't support Kamala Harris, they must be a racist. And I think that's very dangerous. And I think it's a really ignorant way of thinking. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. And as you know, and I know, sadly, there are a lot of people in this America didn't vote for her because she's black. I wish that was wrong. Guess what? I'm not one of those people. I supported her. I wanted her to win badly. I think she would have been a decent president. But if anybody out there thinks that I don't want Kamala to run again because of the color of her skin, then quite frankly, they're not worth any of my time. That's how I feel about that. But go ahead, sir. You wanted to talk about Trump. Go ahead.
And that's why you don't need to have no validation. You made your point. But at the end of the day, what I think Trump was trying to say, I think he was just trying to say, like, the tickets, the NFL tickets, because I know I went to Cali like 4 years ago for a Niners game down there, $800-900. I just don't think he was wording correctly. I understand what he was trying to say with all these new Netflix and Amazon Prime. I think he was trying to go into that way. He just doesn't explain anything very clearly, which is very nerve-wracking that you got an 80-plus-year-old man who poops his pants, and this is what you got?
Yeah.
Like, people at the same time, like, getting mad at the gas. I got on an argument with somebody on Facebook. Like, you can't have both. You can't have wanting the gas to get better, but then you want this supposed war to end, which was a war that we didn't even have to be in the first place, because Obama had a 15-year plan, and he cut that through for a 10-year plan. Right. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to hang up.
Appreciate
Brian,
you,
you have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
You support the bald-headed guys. I see you rocking that bald head. You know what I'm saying? You have no fear. For a man to rock a bald head like that and not have no fear, and he done came home like 10, 15 years ago, I support it, because my blood is going to Turkey the next year or two, and I'm going to get that little replacement for my hair. But that's another story.
I love you, pal. Pal, you're one of my new favorite callers. Please call back, and I appreciate those kind words. And, this is why I do what I do, man. I have some great listeners out there, and he is certainly one of them, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you, sir, for your kind words. And you're right, I don't have an explanation to anybody, but I don't owe it. But at the same time, this is what I do for a living, so I certainly talk about it. Thank you, sir. 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. Trump mushroom gobblers like John, who called in a few minutes ago. You're always welcome to call in, and I always love to expose you. Let's go to Ryan. He's calling out of Pennsylvania, and he actually has a response to John, the Trump mushroom gobbler, who called in. Ryan, what's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe clarify what John was saying. He was just saying that you guys are the first to call out homophobic slurs, but
what do you mean, you guys?
You personally are like one of the first to use them, like every day.
What homophobic slur did I use?
Well, you know what it is. I'm not going to repeat it.
No, please tell me. No, please tell me.
I'm sure you'll call me it.
No. You think Trump mushroom gobbler, another MAGA?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. So if it applies to both women and men, please explain to me how it's a homophobic slur.
Because you're using it in a bad statement.
Let me repeat. If it applies to, okay, so if you use something in a negative statement, like if you call somebody a name or whatever, if it applies to both women and men, please explain to me.
Yeah.
You see, a homophobic slur would apply to one either being a man, right, or a woman. When you use something that applies to both men and women, and you know exactly why I'm saying it, unless you have an extremely low IQ, I don't know you personally, what it means is you use verbal fellatio on Donald Trump and you're not capable of criticizing him, which you probably know that. And if you don't understand that logic as to why I'm saying it, then quite frankly, sir, you're wasting my time. So I'll repeat it one more time. When I call somebody a MAGA mushroom gobbler, which I would assume you're probably one of them as well, because anybody that has a problem with that, they're upset. If you say something bad about Orange Man, I'm upset and I'm going to call into the show and I'm going to call you a homophobe. When you look at the history of what I've done, the history of this show and the people who I support, which part of those people would be the LGBT community, you're a part of a group. If you want to talk about homophobia, you guys are a part of the group that thinks being gay is a sin. You're a part of a group that, what do you think about gay marriage, by the way, Ryan? What do you think about gay marriage? Since let's get into some real topics.
I think it's fine.
Oh, you think it's fine. So why do you think in the history of the Republican Party, they think gay marriage is bad and they're anti-gay marriage and they think being gay is a sin? Do you think that's also fine? You okay with that policy?
No, I'm just curious about.
No, I'm just curious about you. I'm at no, Ryan.
Calling.
Ryan, I gave you my answer. Now I'm asking you.
Brian.
Okay, gave you. Ryan, we're gonna have a conversation. Pot him down again. So Ryan, you started this call by asking me again about me calling people like you that have Trump fellatio syndrome. I gave you my response. Now we're going to learn a little bit about Ryan. So Ryan, you're now going to answer my question or questions since I answered yours, or the conversation is over. It's very simple, Ryan. So here we go. I answered your question, even though it was a stupid one, and now you're going to answer mine. Ryan, are you a registered Republican? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So Ryan,
I'm an independent.
Okay, great.
Like you,
great. Okay, good. Thank you for answering my question. So okay, Ryan, who did you vote for in 2024?
Okay, so for
I don't need an explanation. I didn't ask you. I did not ask you. I don't care who you voted for as governor. I know it's very hard for you to follow directions. It's a very simple question. Who did you? I don't care who you voted for governor. The question was, who did you vote for president in 2024? Answer the question. Don't care who you voted for governor.
I want to listen to you simmer in your assumptions.
Pot him down again. I'm going to ask you one more time, or the conversation is over. I think I know what the answer is. You just don't want to say it, because then I will quiz you on Republican policy and Trump policy as it comes to homosexuality. I'm going to ask you one more time. If you don't honestly answer the question because you're a coward, and you probably won't, then this conversation is over. You see, because the people who call in that have a problem with me calling Trump mushroom gobblers, and they think that's homophobic, which, by the way, it's not, because it applies to both men and women, are the same people who are too timid and cowards to admit to who they voted for. I have to ask them 6 times. So, Ryan, we're going to ask you one more time. Ryan, who did you vote for in 2024? Oh, did Ryan hang up the phone? I think we know exactly who Ryan voted for, and that's why he just hung up the phone. I didn't hang up on him. He couldn't even admit that he voted for Donald Trump. Ryan, we know that you're also a Trump mushroom gobbler, and I will call you that every single day, and there's nothing you can do about it. So the guy who thinks I'm using homophobic slurs, which, by the way, I never have in my life, is the same guy who's not even willing to admit he voted for Donald Trump and Trump policy, and Republicans who have a history of voting against gay marriage, who have a history of being anti-LGBT community, who have a history of getting away with gay pride month or gay pride parades. He has no problem with those policies. He has no problem voting for Donald Trump, but he's so upset he used his little homophobic, little orange fingers to call into this show. Brian, how come you're calling people Trump mushroom gobblers? Hey, Ryan, why don't you eat it? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb. Is Herb there? Did we lose Herb? That would be very tragic if we lost the celebrity named Herb who calls into this show. Herb, are you there? All right, I hate to do this, but we're going to have to hang up on Herb, another Trump mushroom gobbler. But, sorry, Herb, call back. We love you here at PTL. We love it when you call in. Next up is Larry. He's calling from Ohio, and he had something to say about John. Go ahead, Larry.
First of all, I want to
put it out there. I am no MAGA. Here a while back, you made a video, put out that I was a MAGA caller. Absolutely incorrect. But I've noticed a big change in things, you know, with you. When you're out on the debate, you get cooked, Brian, because you can't mute. And
so
then,
Larry,
you know,
Larry, would you
talk
like to
about
talk,
Tucker
Larry?
Carlson.
Larry, guess what?
You
The
can't.
reason why I'm muting you is because you're not on topic. This isn't a free for all. I don't care what your opinions are about me about some debate. It means nothing to me. Okay, Larry? So I know it's really difficult for people like you to register that in your brain. But you are right, Larry, about one thing. This is my show, and I can do whatever I want. I asked my callers two things. Don't swear and be on topic. So, Larry, let's see if you can follow directions. I don't care what your opinions are about me when it comes to debating. Notice how he laughs. He struggles to follow direction. So, Larry, let's try this one more time. Hi, Larry. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today, and would you like to remain on topic? What would you like to talk about? Go ahead, Larry.
That as a non-MAGA person, Brian is a fellatio. He's got the Tucker
Okay.
Carlson.
All right, no problem. So, no problem.
You're a
So,
weirdo.
Larry, let's talk about
You're
that.
an immature
All
weirdo.
right, thank you. Thank you. So, Larry, who did you vote for in 2024?
I voted for Biden. Thank you. My wife's right
Okay,
here.
so Larry, I got some bad news for you. Larry, Joe Biden didn't run in 2024. Joe Biden ran in 2020. So I don't believe you. I think we caught you in a lie. Let me just help you out a little bit, Larry.
Even that much
Larry. Newsflash. Joe Biden didn't run in 2024. A woman by the name of Kamala Harris ran. So I don't believe you. But since your wife is right next to you, why don't you put your wife? Why don't you put your wife on the phone? Joe Biden didn't run in 2024. So Larry, you said your wife is right next to you. I'm shocked that that any woman would be that close to you. But Larry, since your wife is next to you, why don't you put your wife on the phone? I'd love to have a conversation with her.
I actually have a wife.
Okay, so put her on the phone. You said she's sitting right next to you. Put her on the phone. That's a fair request, Larry, isn't it? Larry, put her on the phone. I now asked you 5 times. Larry, Larry, put her on the phone. Hi, ma'am. Hi, ma'am. Hi, ma'am. What's your name?
Brandy.
Brandy. She can answer for herself, sir. Hi, ma'am. What's your?
She ain't got time with me.
Oh, she doesn't have time. Okay, interesting. She was right next to you, and you bragged about that. Yet she doesn't have the time. Well, Larry, I guess you do. Larry, who ran in 2024? Larry, who ran in 2000? Who ran in 2000?
Kamala Harris.
Okay,
you sounded
you sounded like you were a little bit confused because you said you voted for Joe Biden in 2024, and last I checked, he wasn't on the ballot. So I just wanted to, Larry, clear that up. So Larry, you said I perform verbal fellatio, and that's okay. So tell me, who do you think I kiss ass for? Like, who do you think when I go on the radio every day? Let me just ask my question, Larry, and I'm happy to let you answer. Okay. So you said I kiss ass for people because that when I hear somebody say that to me, it means, you're kissing butt for somebody else. So Larry, when I go on the air every day, who do you think I'm dishonest about? Who do you think, whose ass do I kiss? Go ahead, Larry.
I said you had Trump fellatio or whatever you said. The way you act, you can't mute people when you're out there.
Larry, you're obviously not a very intelligent person, Larry. By the way, Joe Biden didn't run in 2024. I voted for Joe Biden in 2024. Yeah, I really believe you, Larry. Anybody who lies and says they voted for Donald Trump in 2024 is stupid enough that they voted for Donald Trump 3 times. By the way, you bragged about your wife sitting right next to you, and then she didn't even want to talk. And she's probably embarrassed that her husband, if that is her husband, Larry, who can't even put 2 sentences together. By the way, I voted for Joe Biden in 2024. What a dummy. I mean, what would you say to somebody who claims that? I would say that's probably a liar. Didn't even know the lady who ran in 2024. I had to correct him. And I don't believe Larry for a second. Larry, you are another official Trump mushroom gobbler. I appreciate you calling in today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that and proving the fool that you are. But don't get me wrong. When I wake up every day, I really care about people like Larry and what they think about Brian and his debating skills. Larry, I don't know how I could go on if you don't approve of me. Jeez, I don't know if I could do this radio show anymore because some guy who thinks Joe Biden ran in 2024 doesn't like the way I debate. Thanks for calling in, Larry. I appreciate it. I think my career is over now. Thank you, Larry. 702. I really feel bad for your wife, by the way. Holy smokes. Can you imagine waking up in the morning next to Larry saying, boy, thank God we voted for that guy, Joe Biden. Or, man, I'm really disappointed in that guy, Joe Biden. We should have voted for Trump. Holy smokes. That's what I would call MAGA trash for Trump, ladies and gentlemen. Larry, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next on PTL from one to another. What's up, Herb?
I'm doing fine. You already called me a mushroom gobbler, and I haven't even talked to you.
Herb, you're a good sport. You're a good sport about it. Can I say something nice? Can I say something nice? Can we start off nicely? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Just 10 seconds, and then I'll let you talk. Okay, Herb?
All right.
I mean this genuinely, and I am not being facetious, and I am not trying to be mean. You are a fun guy to talk to on this show. You are a fan favorite, and I'm not being sarcastic. You really are, because you're probably a really nice guy. We have fun, Herb. You call in, and that's why I always take your phone calls, okay?
Yeah, but Friday you didn't know, Brian. I was on the phone for 50 minutes.
So Herb,
Herb,
let me give you my explanation. Herb. All right, Herb, it's not personal. Anybody who
I know it ain't.
Herb, I try to get to as many calls as I can. That wasn't a situation where I said, oh, geez, I don't want to take that call. I take a lot of phone calls. They come as they go. And I try to take as many as I can. So that happens. It happens to everybody. It happens to a lot of my fans who can't get through. So that's not a personal thing, Herb. I promise you.
Okay, well, Brian, after saying all of that, and I appreciated what you said, I don't have nothing against you either. The only thing is that you paint people on the other side with a broad brush.
I do.
And just because somebody doesn't agree with you politically, because most of my friends are Democrats. I got to tell you,
I have friends that are Republicans. They're on this show a lot.
Okay, I know you do, but I'm just saying you gotta be a little bit more, because somebody doesn't agree. You don't have to.
Okay, so Herb, can I respond to that? Herb, let me respond to that. Okay, fair question. If somebody's a reasonable Republican and they like some of Trump's policies, and obviously I'll disagree with them, that's one thing. But when somebody that I'm having a conversation with says the 2020 election was stolen and that Donald Trump is the next Messiah and that all Democrats are pedophiles, when somebody has conspiracy theories like that and they think Trump won in 2020, I don't have any respect for those people because I think they're idiots. If you, I've had conversations with people that are MAGA supporters that I disagree with, and I can have respectful conversations with them. But when somebody calls into this show, and listen, I'm not saying you're one of those people, but when somebody calls into this show and they get so angry at me calling somebody a MAGA mushroom gobbler, obviously you laugh about it and you don't take it personal. But when somebody calls into this show and they think it's a homophobic slur, that's not somebody that I'm going to be nice to, because they're not serious people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. But here's the other thing too, Brian. As ridiculous as Trump saying that he won the 2020 election may be, the fact that there's a lot of Democrats out there that don't have a problem with transgenders playing in girls' sports.
Okay, so those are okay. So hold on. Let me respond to that.
See, that's pretty radical.
Herb, let me respond to that. Herb. So let me respond to that, even though those are two different things, and that won't cause an insurrection. But do you know the percentage based on Fox News polls and right-wing polls of how many Democrats think that transgender women should be competing in women's sports?
No, I don't know. As far
about 85%, and you could look that up. So the overwhelming majority of Democrats do not believe that transgender women should be competing against women. However, let's take it a step further. This is not a top 5 or a top 10 issue. Do you know how many Division I college athletes are transgender?
I've heard you give that statistic.
Okay,
before. I think it's 17 or something like that.
Less than right now. It's less than 10. So Herb, most Democrats do not believe that transgender women. Let me give you the difference here between Democrats and Republicans in regards to these two issues, because you brought it up. About 8 to 9 out of 10 Democrats in polls believe that transgender women should not be competing with women, but over 6.5 to 7 out of 10 Republicans think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. So Herb, what do you think about that?
I don't think it's that many, Brian.
Okay, well look up the polls. By the way, Donald Trump still,
even in the polls, because the Republicans that I know, we don't think that he won it.
Well, the Democrats that I know don't think that transgender women should be competing against women.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's. But I brought that up because of the fact that
Yeah.
That's radical too.
Okay, so let me ask you about that. Let's talk
and
about.
If somebody thought that way,
okay, Herb.
and I was talking to him,
yeah,
I don't want
so
to put him down.
All right, so Herb, let's
you know?
talk about that. Let's talk about the word radical that you use. So as you know, Donald Trump lied about the 2020 election. We had something called January 6th. People died that day. Can you name me anybody that has died because a transgender was on the playing field?
No, Brian.
You can't. Can you name me?
I'm not saying, no.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Herb,
point,
here's my
Brian,
point. Here's my point. No, here's my point. Herb, I'm glad that transgender college volleyball player is not on the team. That's great. But I care a little bit more about attacks on our democracy, what happened on January 6th, a bunch of Capitol police officers that have traumatic brain injury. To me, that's a little bit more serious than getting that transgender off the volleyball team.
Yeah, but Brian, even though it's not life or death, I'm not saying that it is. The point being is that it's a concern. And there's people that careers are ruined as a result of that happening. I don't care. You said it's only 16 or 17.
Whose careers were ruined? Whose careers were ruined?
Okay.
Whose careers were ruined?
Oh,
name me one. Name me one.
I know a girl that was training to be she was a sprinter.
Uh-huh.
And she had been sprinting all her life. Okay. And all of a sudden she gets into high school and she has to compete against some transgender boy.
So she had, okay, so hold on, let's talk about that. So you're telling me that hold on. You're telling me that a female sprinter that was 14 years old, because that's the age you would be when you're a freshman in high school, it ended her possible college career because of one transgender athlete?
What it did was it pushed her back. In other words, she was losing race. She raced against this kid evidently.
So you're telling me hold on. I want to understand this, Herb. Herb,
here's the point,
Herb, wait. You made a claim, and I just want to get information on your claim. You're claiming that you know a 14-year-old girl, and the reason, and it ruined her career. By the way, I don't know if you could have a career at 14. I would assume you might be saying she didn't get a scholarship because of a transgender boy, which, by the way, wouldn't be true, because even the times of her sprints, college recruits would be going to her meets. And even if she lost to a transgender woman every single race, a person who is scouting her, trying to figure out whether she deserves a scholarship or not, would be able to watch her and get her numbers and the seconds of her running to be able to figure out if she has what it takes to get a scholarship. So your assertion that a transgender woman hurt her career is factually inaccurate and insane. What you're saying doesn't make don't Brian me. Admit you're wrong. Admit you're wrong.
Brian, let me explain it. This is why you need to listen sometimes.
Okay. Give me the explanation. Go ahead.
This girl went through, she's out of high school. She's been out of high school for
Did she get a scholarship?
But the point being is,
did she get a scholarship?
She was so discouraged going into her senior year. She didn't even make it. She missed several meets.
Well, guess what?
Because she didn't.
Guess what? Here's my opinion. So here's my gotcha. Okay, so here's my opinion on that. So you know her personally. You're saying, is that what you're saying, her?
I know. Yes, okay. I know her.
All right. So here's what I would say to that. If you're trying to get a college scholarship, which is very mentally difficult to do for any athlete 17, 18 years old, and the reason why you quit is because you were losing some races because of a transgender woman, and that's because you quit, then you're not mentally tough enough to be a college Division I. You're not mentally tough enough to be a Division I college athlete. Okay, that's the explanation that I would give. So for you making an assumption is that it hurt her career, I would ask, what are her numbers? How fast of a star was she? What were her actual numbers, which, by the way, has nothing to do with a transgender woman and everything to do with what her actual numbers were. And if her numbers were good enough, it wouldn't matter whether she kept losing to a transgender woman. It wouldn't matter. So what you're saying doesn't make any sense when it comes to that sport. Thank you for the call, Herb. Holy smokes. Go back quickly to the YouTube super chat. Shelly says, thank you for the support, Shelly. Says, I still believe that it's going to take a while for the MAGA stench to get off of everything. Whoever going to run with a real chance better come out now. Well, I completely agree with you, Shelly. Thank you so much for the call, or I should say the YouTube super chat. I definitely appreciate that one. Intellus Wild is just, again, a complete stalker. bringing up the Wilsons. It's very, very, very strange. But hey, if it makes me money, then why not, right? By the way, it's no shocker to me that a Trump mushroom gobbler would also be a fan of the Wilsons, who are also Trump mushroom gobblers. Let's go to Lucky Dragon, who's calling, I believe, from California. Wants to talk about the NFL. What's up?
Hey, what's up? No, I just want to make a point about what Donald Trump was saying about the pay to play, with the NFL.
Yeah.
I got some bad news for you.
Lower the radio for me if you can.
My problem is,
lower the radio.
I quit cable like a year ago, right? The real problem is that
Lucky, you got to lower your radio, my friend, because there's a little bit of a delay, so you got to do that for me, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Hold on.
That's okay.
Is that better?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So the real problem is I canceled my cable like a year ago, and honestly, it's not that bad. I'm enjoying it. But the fact that they only show like the California governor's debate on CNN, that is disenfranchising so many people who don't have cable. You know what I mean? And but Donald Trump's never going to say anything about that, right? Because that's exactly what he wants, is to disenfranchise people.
Well, that's what the entire Republican Party wants to do, in my personal opinion. They want to make it as hard as possible for people to vote, even during the pandemic, right? I mean, it's insane when Trump was talking about mail-in votes and all that, when the guy mail-in votes himself. They want to make it as hard as possible for people to vote because they understand the more people that vote, the worse it is for them. That's just the way it's been in the history of this country. You know that.
Right. So, no, I know. I mean, that's they want less people to vote. I mean, it's just how it is. Now, one other point, that guy John, if he's really a constitutionalist, I just wonder if he would vote for Jamie Raskin, because Jamie Raskin is probably the smartest constitutionalist in all of Congress, in all of the administration, and definitely of 3/4 of the judges that are on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so Lucky, listen, obviously I agree with you. The reason why he put that in front of it is because I caught him. Make no mistake about it. He's a MAGA Republican. He voted for Donald Trump. He's a Republican. They call into this show, and they're upset because I called somebody a Trump mushroom gobbler, yet they have no problem with Donald Trump having nicknames for people that he disagrees with. No problem with him saying he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. No problem with him calling people suckers and losers who served this country. They have no problem with any of Donald Trump's rhetoric and in at least in my personal opinion, inciting violence. But a podcaster who's anti-Donald Trump saying you're a MAGA mushroom gobbler, all of a sudden that makes me homophobic. It's hilarious. It's insane is what it is. And I guess all we can do is laugh at it. But hey, Lucky, it's good to hear from you, my friend. I do appreciate the phone call. Good to hear from you. Thank you, sir. Loyal listener. I appreciate them. Let's go to Andrew, who I believe is calling from Rhode Island. He wants to talk about the Trump fellatio syndrome comment, I believe. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Brian.
What's up?
I honestly think when you make those comments, it's actually kind of funny.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad you have a sense of humor.
No, it's a sense of humor. It's fine. But what I do have a question for you is, what do you think about open relationships where a wife allows a husband to do what he wants and go with another woman?
If it's a mutual agreement between the two, why is it my business?
Do you have any evidence Melania didn't tell him to sleep with Stormy Daniels?
That's not a serious comment. And if you're,
why isn't it a serious comment? If Melania said, I don't want to sleep with you right now, I'm pregnant, and she said, go find somebody else to sleep with. They're rich.
So why did he pay her off? Okay, so if that's the case, then why did he pay her $130,000 in hush money then?
Because Melania didn't want it to get out there. She didn't want it to embarrass her.
I see. So they're in an open relationship. So if they were in an open relationship, they could be. Yeah, that's not a very reasonable opinion. I would say he is not in an open relationship.
A lot of rich people are in open relationships.
Oh, I agree with you, but okay. Yes. So I agree that there are some people that are not rich.
But I know where you're going to go with it.
Hold on.
I don't believe Trump is a Christian.
I
don't believe he is.
I wasn't going to say that. I don't know why you brought that up.
Okay.
So if your opinion is that you think Melania Trump and Donald Trump are in an open relationship, and Donald Trump paid her a $130,000 hush money payment because Melania Trump didn't want it to get out there, Don't you think by this point in their marriage, there would have been more women that came out and would have said they're in an open relationship? We haven't had anybody, and Trump has slept with multiple women in multiple marriages. So don't you think there would have been one person of all the women that Trump has cheated on and all the women that he has slept with, including Stormy Daniels? Don't you think there would have been a few women that would have come forward and would have said, me and my wife are in an open relationship? Don't you think there would be more than just somebody with a hypothetical calling into a radio show, and there'd be a little bit more evidence than that?
Did they divorce?
Well, yeah, he's been in other divorces because of cheating.
No,
Absolutely.
but did Melania divorce him?
Okay, so
and this is all out there
okay,
now.
so let's get this right. Your way of thinking, and you're entitled to your opinion, is not only are they in an open relationship, but the reason why they haven't divorced is not a monetary thing. It has nothing to do with the money.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
Melania wants the money.
Gotcha.
Melania wants his money.
So how long have they been married for?
I'm not gonna lie. I do not
Decades.
know how long they were
So
married.
they've been married for decades. If in fact they were in an open relationship, which by the way I think is nonsense. Hold on. I understand that maybe Melania and Trump wouldn't talk about it. I understand that part of it. But when you're the president of the United States and you're in an open relationship and you allegedly have all these women out there that have slept with them and you're claiming they're in an open relationship, I would like to believe, sir, that some women would have come forward by now and would have given that explanation. By the way, Stormy Daniels hasn't given that explanation, and no woman in Donald Trump's entire life would do so or have done so. So I respectfully, completely disagree with you. Donald Trump is a scumbag. He's cheated on every woman he's ever been with since day one. He's never been honorable to any women. He paid off Stormy Daniels $130,000. He is a liable sexual abuser with over 30 women that have accused him of rape or sexual assault. So no, I don't believe Donald Trump is in an open relationship. I believe Donald Trump is a pig and a womanizer and a scumbag. And if you want to provide me any evidence to the contrary, other than what you might think that they might be in an open relationship, which I think is ridiculous, then go ahead and do that. I think there's just as good a chance that they're in an open relationship as January 6th was stolen. So I'll leave it at that, sir. Let's go to Darlene, the MAGA destroyer, who is calling out of Oklahoma. What's up, Darlene?
Hey, Brian. It is so nice to talk to somebody sensible besides listening to these idiots. Anyway, Brian, I have to tell you, it's going to be a sad day because I do agree with Trump on one thing. You know what it is?
What's that?
He definitely loves the uneducated and the stupid, and that's who's calling in today. Not all of them, but most of them are idiots. Why? They are little whiny butts. I don't get it. And another thing, MAGAs, Republicans, why are y'all embarrassed to tell us that you voted for Trump? Why, Brian? Why are they embarrassed?
Darlene, do you notice that? I'll tell you why. Because they call into this show and they know I'm going to destroy them. And the only types of people that would call into a show and be so stupid as to think that calling somebody a Trump mushroom gobbler is a homophobic slur, you have to be a Trump supporter. There's not one Democrat that would be, or independent that didn't vote for Trump that would believe that. The only people that believe that are idiots on the right that support Donald Trump. And then when I corner them and we find out who they really are, that's when they fold and the phone call is over.
And I'm going to tell you something else. Y'all know me. Y'all should know me by now. I'm the same way with Brian, and not because I like Brian. This is my decision. I don't agree with women playing in men's sports either.
Yeah.
And I've been that way from day one. I just don't. That's me.
Transgender,
I don't think they should.
Transgender women playing in women's sports. Darlene, I'm with you 150%. And you always bring the fire, Darlene. We love you. And I appreciate the call. Let's go to Dan. Dan wants to talk about Kamala Harris. What's up, Dan? Hey, Dan.
Hey, Brian.
What's up?
So, I got two quick comments. One is I completely agree with you on what you were saying about Kamala Harris and like her not answering questions, like 100%. Why did it take you that long to figure that out? That's what Democrats.
It didn't take me. It didn't
the
take me
entire
that long. So Dan, it didn't take me that long to figure it out. She wasn't my first pick, my second pick, my third pick, my fourth pick, or my fifth pick. I would have voted for a ham sandwich over Donald Trump. I also think Kamala Harris would have been a better president. I never said that she was great with the media. So why would you say, why did it take you this long? I haven't changed my opinions on Kamala Harris in years. So no, I've felt the same way about Kamala Harris. If the election was held tomorrow, in an instant, I go to the polls and I vote for Kamala over Donald Trump.
You hate Trump. Well, you hate Trump.
No, I hate what he stands for. So, well, but why would you say, why did it take you? Why would you say, why did it take you this long? You're wrong. You're wrong.
So the reason I'm saying that is because when you would have even calm conversations when you're not spurging.
I'm not spurging, Dan. I'm being very calm with you. You're wrong.
Can I finish?
I think Dan, let me try to be clear. I think Kamala. No, let me finish. Kamala is a very intelligent. Kamala is a very intelligent lady. Pot him down. I'm talking about Kamala, dumbbell. Pay attention. Kamala, as I've always said, is a very intelligent lady, a very educated lady, a very capable lady. I think Kamala Harris would have been a decent president. It didn't take me this long to think whatever you're trying to say. All I'm simply saying is there are better candidates out there now. Dan, why did it take you this long in this phone call to understand my position? Why did it take you this long? Dan, why did it take you this long? Dan, why did it take you this long to understand my... I interrupted you because you mischaracterized me.
Because you keep interrupting. Can I finish? Can I make a point?
You haven't made one point yet. You said, why did it take you this long?
Because you're interrupting, bro. Be quiet.
Why did it take me this long? Why did it take me this long? Are you wrong, Dan? Are you going to admit you're wrong?
Anytime someone would say that, I didn't like Kamala because of XYZ and they might have voted differently.
Right.
You were like, oh, it's because she's a black woman.
I didn't say that. Pot him down again. Never have I said in the history of this show, when somebody immediately calls in and said, I didn't vote for Kamala, never have I immediately said you didn't vote for her because she's black. So you're also wrong about that. So you haven't made one valid point yet. Never have I assumed right off the bat in a phone call that somebody didn't vote for Kamala because she's black. So I'm still waiting for you to make a valid point. Your first point in this phone
one ever
hold on,
right
be
off
quiet.
the bat.
Hold on a second. You started this phone call, Dan, another Trump mushroom gobbler. I'm going to assume that about you, Dan, because you're not very bright. You started this phone. Brian, why did it take you this long? I haven't changed my opinions on Kamala since day one. I've been very consistent. She's a smart lady, educated. I think she would have been a fine president. Right now in 2026, I don't think she's the right person, and I think there are other people out there that I think would be better than her. I haven't changed my position on Kamala Harris. So you started the call. Let's see if you could admit that you're wrong. You started this phone call by saying, Brian, why did it take you this long? I've explained to you my position, which you mischaracterized. So are you now willing to admit that you were wrong in assuming that somehow I came to a new conclusion that I wasn't at a year ago or 2 years ago? What has changed in me in a year or two? Give me a position on Kamala that you think has changed with me in a year. Make your point valid. Go.
Your point has changed because whenever someone would say that they are not voting for Kamala, you would say, oh, it's because her cackle. It's because she didn't interview well.
Get this idiot off the show. You just make complete buffoon generalizations, which is not true. I ask people about policy. I ask people, what are the policies of Kamala that you didn't like? They can't name one policy. I question you about Donald Trump. Why would you not vote for Kamala? And then when they can't come up with any policies and they don't know what Kamala stood for and they claim she slept her way to the top and they defend Donald Trump ad nauseum, usually the conclusion that I come up with, people like you, the conclusion usually is maybe you didn't vote for her because she's a woman. Maybe you didn't vote for her because she's black, because you can't defend your argument on why you didn't vote for her, but you voted for Donald Trump. When I get to people like you who mischaracterize my thoughts and my opinions, when you say, Brian, why did it take you this long? And I explained to you my opinions haven't changed on Kamala since she ran. But yet you can't come up and form any conclusion to defend your claim that I've seen the light and I have. No, my opinions haven't changed at all. If you can't come up with some actual reasoning as to why you didn't vote for Kamala, other than her cackle, other than she's a woman, other than she's black, if you can't coherently talk about some policies you didn't like, and then you defend Donald Trump ad nauseum, then I usually form my own conclusions, like people like you. You're another middle-aged white guy who's probably ill-informed and very uneducated, and you defend the indefensible, a guy by the name of Donald J. Trump. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you for proving my point, dummy. All right, everybody. Check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We appreciate all the Trump mushroom gobblers that have called in today. I'm sorry if that upsets some of you. John, thank you for calling in the Trump mushroom gobbler. Ryan, Larry, Herb, Dan. I forgot the guy's name who was talking about the open relationship stuff, but I'll put him in that category as well. You're part of the PTL Trump Mushroom Gobbler Club, and that doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. So congratulations to all of you that are in that club. Hey, Destiny is going to be joining us tomorrow, man. Destiny is going to be joining us. That's going to be a lot of fun. Someone who probably doesn't think I'm anti-trans or homophobic or any of the other stuff. My friend Eva Chase is going to be joining us. She's one of the few transgender women that running for office, not just in Nevada, but in the entire country. She's going to be joining us in studio as well. I'm pretty sure she doesn't think I'm that way. She'll be joining us in studio tomorrow, as I mentioned, along with Destiny, one of the biggest live streamers around. So he's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow live again. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a fun show today. I actually enjoyed it. It was fun. I always enjoy it with you guys and my PTL family. I appreciate you guys very much. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, Nevada voters. Primary is June 9th.